Avast, me hearties!
You're alright.
No, don't. You're going to set me off again. Don't.
Yeah.
Think happy thoughts.
Okay.
Everything is on a level.
Okay. Yeah. You are not moving up and down at all.
No, there is no gentle undulation. Sorry. I've never been seasick before, have you?
No, I've always been lucky.
Yeah, unfortunately, I suppose the difference here is that it kind of feels like you're being seasick in 0G.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have mentioned that, should I?
Yeah.
Let's move on very, very quickly. Hello, and ahoy, and all of those seaman type thing.
Are we going there again?
I think we're already there.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Maybe Movies, and our final episode for March, and our wrap-up of Sinbad of the Caribbean.
Indeed.
Just before we get straight back into things, very quickly, as is our wont now, to do a couple of shout-outs.
Of course. This
This week we are doing one for a guy who's in one of the YouTube groups that we're on Facebook, to That Fitch Guy, who's been doing really, really well. I think it's like his second or third channel that he's doing at the minute.
Well
I think
done there.
Yeah, he's done sort of stuff before and it hasn't worked, and now he's doing basically tutorial videos for small YouTubers with lots of handy tips and advice and all those kind of things. If you need a bit of help with just sort of navigating your way through the wonderful choppy waters that is the sea of algorithm, then please do check out Fitch's channel. It's very, very good, and of course descriptions will be below, or other links certainly.
Yes.
And the other one I was going to do is to one of a growing number of channels at the moment that do sort of ambient sounds and things like that.
Okay.
Which is called Project Relax and Meditate, which I must admit for me is doing really good because I am a veteran insomniac, and sort of listening to a lot of these things does actually help.
So it does what it says on the tin.
It certainly does, yeah.
Oh, well,
yeah,
that's what you want, isn't it?
Do check him out, especially recently he added one that was sounds from the seashore.
Oh, lovely, yes.
Which seems appropriate at the moment. So, yeah, do have a look at them. As always, throw them a like, throw them a sub, because they're great guys doing great things. A bit like us.
I hope so.
Does that sound a bit pretentious, me saying that?
Like I said, I hope so.
Let's move on.
Indeed.
So, yeah, those are out of the way. Hope everybody is well and has had a good week and has enjoyed. Apparently, they've been having sun in the real world.
Oh, my goodness.
Do you remember what the sun looks like? I wonder at what point do we suddenly start losing pigmentation on our skin and then developing incredible hearing and go blind and become mole men ourselves.
Stop it.
So I thought that, yes, I have my pirate goblet, which
Yarr.
seems appropriate because I seem to remember we were on our way to Tortuga.
Tortuga!
Yay!
Tortuga. Indeed. I have very little doubt that you and I are going to agree that the first scene is indeed going to be Tortuga.
Yes.
Kind of the whole thing, really. Because, of course, this is going to play... We lose the I may have deserved that, but we get Sinbad's reaction to a literal city of pirates.
Exactly. Yes, it's going to be a nightmare for him because he's just going to want to stab everybody.
Yeah, I imagine Mr. Gibbs is going to have to kind of keep a semi-permanent hand on the hilt of his sword, like, no.
Exactly. And we have to remember as well, with this at this point, obviously we've got Will there as well. So
yes, we've got Will, we've got... so we've got Sinbad and his crew, and we've got Will, and we've got Mr. Gibbs.
Although
Yes.
Will's a lot more. I mean, again, from the original film, he doesn't like it, but
He understands what it is.
exactly, he understands the purpose that they're there, and that's it. It's a means to an end.
I'm sure that Sinbad's never seen anything like this. He's used to taking down pirates on the high seas on the
Exactly.
ships. This is a whole new level of iniquity and depravity that he has to deal with. And so I think it's going to be quite hilarious in a lot of ways.
We do lose. So yeah. So so we don't lose exactly. We're simply transposing the action in Tortuga rather than going to find Mr. Gibbs, as you say, the scene with the two ladies, and then him selling Gibbs on the idea. We're now transposing to the pirates, or not the pirates, Sinbad and his crew's reaction to Tortuga. The crew part of it, that kind of just happens.
Yes, that's why I figured that it's the first part, the part of Tortuga and actually getting to the place and the discussion of how to get there.
The other reason that why I'd wanted Tortuga in here as well was because up until this point they have no direction of how to get to Ilha de Muerta.
It's literally the thing I was going to bring up next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can have Mr. Gibbs disappear for a while he's going to get the crew.
Okay.
So that means we can have some of these
we
scenes.
can have just a lovely moment of just Will and Sinbad in the middle of the pub.
Yes.
With everything going on and the women throwing themselves and the just bottles flying everywhere and hats, so many hats.
Oh, yes.
Which again, just this is going to be hilarious because it's like, what is it with the hats?
Yeah.
What is it? You can just imagine all of these sailors are like, where the hell are we? What is with all of these hats? I don't know why, it just tickles me.
At least one of the crew they'll probably find, as you were saying last week, being co-opted into you've got to drink.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, drink. But
I had an idea as to how they can find out how to get to Ilha de Muerta.
Okay, go on. Because I have to admit, I've been struggling on that one.
It's a bit meta,
Mm-hmm.
but I've figured that possibly the only other person who Jack would have told how to get there is his old man.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Oh, I see what you mean. Right. So it's that down in the corner, the quiet corner of the pub or whatever is holding court is Jack's old man, as it were.
That's one option. The other option is we trust in Allah. Allah will guide the way.
Yes.
So again, we're swapping out the magic of Jack's compass for divine will.
I mean, one is obviously thematically appropriate to Sinbad, but I feel like there's a lack of Sparrow in this movie, and having Jack's dad would be a moment to have a bit of Sparrow in the movie.
Fair enough.
And I think there's more value, entertainment and development character-wise in that than just some Allah will guide us. I think it's a bit airy-fairy, wishy-washy as an explanation, whereas you'd have a concrete route and you'd have to deal with this character.
Yeah. No, I like it.
So I think it's going to be better for the movie to have it be Jack's dad. I think you're right. Yeah.
I'll drink to that. And it's also, again, as you say, it's nice to have a little bit of Sparrow in there.
Well, this is it. I mean, because they're reeling from the mentalness and depravity and debauchery of the pirates. And then there's this whole other level of crazy.
Yes, exactly.
Makes Mr. Gibbs look positively normal.
That's brilliant, because again, that replicates the scene in the bar. So you can have the moments with Will being accosted by the large lady in the bar.
Yep.
While Mr. Gibbs is introducing Sinbad to Jack's dad.
Yeah. This helps bring out some of Will's story that we didn't really have an opportunity to explore before, because his name isn't the issue that it was for Sparrow. But Jack's dad's going to recognise that name.
And also he's going to want to know why they want to know where Ilha de Muerta is.
Yeah.
Well.
Turner, eh?
Yes.
Aha. It's a little thing, but it just brings it back round to Will's story and kind of brings more of the complete original story into focus.
It's a nice exposition point as well for Sinbad, because he knows... He's
he
all of this together.
He'll be the one who's... What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And then we can get a bit of Will's background and things like that Sinbad doesn't know.
I like it. That works really well. No, we don't need to do that. I was going to say there may be a moment where he's like, "Oh, I might come with you," but that's gonna dilute things a bit too much.
It would dilute things. It would complicate a lot of scenes.
Yeah,
it would complicate a lot of scenes, and it would take away from Sinbad's role,
mm-hmm.
which is obviously a no-no.
And then from there we move into them. Or there's obviously other scenes with other characters, and then we come back to them
And
getting the crew.
Getting the crew the next morning, and that should more or less play out the same.
I think again similar. I mean, obviously, I know with Jack it's different because he wants to push the ship because they're catching up. But I think to Sinbad, just we're at sea on this fantastic ship and in the storm, and this is what sailing is for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Again, it's that nice parallel between him and Jack.
Yeah.
There's nothing like being at the helm of a fine ship sailing into choppy waters.
Absolutely, yeah. But moving on, I think the journey more or less to Island of Morte, now that we've solved the riddle of how to get there,
Yes,
is going to play out pretty much the same. You get the ship graveyard, all of that stuff.
that would have been my second scene. Is arrival at the island.
I'm a little bit further ahead. It's once they go into the Isla de Morte
Yes,
that I'm concerned with, because this is where it's going to derail somewhat. Because you haven't got Jack there, you've got Sinbad with an entirely different set of motivations.
exactly.
He's probably not going to want to knock out Will, for starters. Why would Sinbad knock out somebody who could help him?
No, Will knocks out Jack, doesn't he? The two of them go onto the island. They see Elizabeth with getting the hand cut and drop the thing in.
Yeah, the last coin.
Jack
Sorry,
says,
Charles.
"Stay here, don't do anything stupid." Will follows him and knocks him out with the oar because he says he's not going to be his leverage.
Ah, that's right. Yeah, because Will goes to the rescue and then Jack has the parlay. Right. Okay, so how do you think this will play out? Because obviously, well I don't know, because, again, although he's got different motivations, massively outnumbered. It's just the two of them on the island at this moment.
That was going to be my first point. There's two of them go on board because Jack decrees it because he's the captain and he has an ulterior motive.
Yeah.
Sinbad doesn't have that motive, so would he take more of his men with him?
Yes. I see what you mean. But there is the curse, which
So
Sinbad has seen.
So you're saying the
Because there's
two...
the hand through the whole bit at the beginning with the hand through
okay.
the bar, so he knows about the curse.
So
He knows they can't be killed.
So Will and Sinbad go ashore to assess the situation.
They need to find a way to defeat these pirates.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he can beat. He believes he can beat them in a fair fight, but they're unkillable.
Yeah.
He needs to find a way. He needs to spy.
So doubloon? Yep.
Thank you. But at the same time, I also think he wouldn't want Will to rush in and blow the situation. Obviously, for different reasons than Jack would. So I think he might. I don't know. I'm kind of guessing at this point, but I feel he might if not tell Will to stay there, might tell him to stay back.
Yes.
And if they're going to see someone, let them see me, or something like that. He knows how important Will is.
So he doesn't. That's the reason he tells him to stay back.
So, all right,
Will's
okay, so
Will's
do we think that
impetuousness?
Sinbad would tell Will about the story? Or at least what he knows? Because he's a much more honest person than Jack is. I mean, you need to stay behind. Why? Because you're related to one of these. They know who you are. If they see you, they'll all try to kill you or something.
It's an interesting point because, again, this feeds into these are two characters who are diametrically opposed to the concept of piracy.
Yes.
So
But
having to be the one to tell him that this guy who he's just met is a pirate.
it'd be almost a hand on the shoulder. I mean, I'm sorry, I've got something to tell you. Like,
So how about this? It depends. It depends on when he does it because we're saying that this is going to happen while they're there. It's not really the place to have that conversation.
yeah, but it takes the place of the "don't do something stupid" speech.
Which so then it does work. So then we have this conversation as they've moved away from where they were looking.
Yeah.
Will doesn't believe him,
Yes.
and in his fury, if you like, because of this possible suggestion, pushes him, knocks him, hits him. Sinbad staggers back, hits his head on the rocks.
So you think he knocks him out of anger because of "you're a pirate"?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I could see Will possibly doing that, just giving him a whack without thinking.
Yeah.
And then he's knocked him out, which leaves Will in the position he's knocked him out accidentally. So Will is forced to act and rescue Elizabeth,
Yes.
which goes as it is in the script. But then we come to the moment when Sinbad
Wakes up.
Mm-hmm. This is when Jack parleys.
Yes. Sinbad doesn't
Is Sinbad
know.
going to parley?
He wouldn't know. By the sounds of it, it's a concept that's much after his time.
But he's just spent a few days with Mr. Gibbs. He's been
Very
learning
true.
about pirates.
So you want to say that he knows... he's sharp-witted enough. Again, you won't get the kind of that you get Jack. It will
Yeah.
be just, I think this is a time when we should parley. And this will be a very different meeting between him and Barbossa.
Oh, it would, yes. But, I mean, he'd want to, because at this point he's alone on the island of Muerte and surrounded by the entire ship's crew of the Black Pearl. He is massively outnumbered.
I am Sinbad, the notorious pirate killer. What?
But do we think he would give up Will? No, Jack didn't give up Will, but...
When he runs into them, they've already escaped.
Yeah.
So, and again, Sinbad being a good man, it's an opportunity if he can stall them long enough to get out. The thing that I was wondering about is, would Mr. Gibbs leave him behind? Because he's not a pirate, he's not sticking to the code. They only leave because Will says when they get back on board the on board the Interceptor, he fell behind.
Well, it's kind of like a captain going down with a ship. It's not all that different from the similar sensibility. I'm going off to do something stupid. If I don't come back, you know what to do.
Okay, so we're saying Sinbad is given that, because my next thought was there, well, Mr. Gibbs may say, right, let's go, but Sinbad's crew won't. So they wouldn't abandon their captain.
Right, okay, yes. So we have a different scene when Will arrives with Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm. I know, it's a sticking one, isn't it?
It's a sticky one, because Will, being the honest man that he is, would be like, they've got him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there'd be almost like a mini mutiny. All right. Well, see, the Pearl's still going to chase the Interceptor, and this is the thing. And Gibbs and everybody knows they can't beat the Pearl in straight-up battle.
How about this? They're having this argument on board the Interceptor because the crew, Sinbad's crew want to go. The pirate half of the crew want to just, let's get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
While they're doing that, this is the occasion where what we don't actually see in the original film is where Barbossa's crew are returning to the Black Pearl.
Yeah.
Whilst this discussion is going on, somebody just goes, oh, look! And in one of the rowboats, they see Sinbad is alive. They've got him. So they know he's alive.
Yeah.
They know they can't take the pearl.
Mr. Gibbs is like, don't be stupid, we can't take the pearl.
We can't take this now, but if we get out of here, we may get a chance later.
They aren't stupid men. They're not suicidal. I think you're right. I think he would be able to make his point.
So you can see your captain's alive. They haven't just killed him. They've taken him captive. Let's bug out.
Yeah.
Get somewhere safe and then rethink.
Live to fight another day.
Yes.
No, I agree. You're right. Yeah, that's a way out of this situation.
Again, just a very small thing. While the chase is happening, there is that lovely discussion in Barbossa's cabin between him and Jack. So, again, diametrically opposed viewpoints. He's a pirate through and through, and you've got Sinbad there.
Yeah.
Somebody else who probably knows the name Sinbad.
Is Barbossa that well read?
He's possibly not that well read, but he is that well versed in the tales of the sea.
Ah, okay, yes. Once again, pirates talk.
Yes.
Okay.
Again, this entire conversation about how are you here and all this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So, what's your next scene?
My next scene was the ship battle itself, leading up to the end of this, or more to do with after the battle. I mean, there's a few things we can say about it because things will be different. Sinbad won't be going after the coin because it means nothing to him. Part of the reason why Jack goes back after the ship is to try and get the piece of gold. And he obviously chases the monkey back onto the pearl, doesn't he, after it? Sinbad wouldn't be about that. He would just be wanting to do what he can to sabotage the pearl from where he is.
Oh, the medallion?
Yes.
No, because by this point he understands what the value of the medallion is. Remember, we've seen Barbossa do the ritual and trying to return, so Sinbad knows its value.
It's its value, but for him it's... Because again, Jack's always got the ulterior motive of why he wants it. He's got his plan to put in order.
But if Sinbad has any intention of saving Will's life, he needs that medallion.
Fair enough.
He's being a hero.
Yes.
They need that. We need that to end the curse.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
You know, it takes the same place as the medallion from Sinbad.
From Gone on Voyage. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it does.
It's a necessary piece of the journey or the quest he's on.
So the only thing that's going to be different then is everybody's reaction to him. So when he swings back onto the ship, they'll be a lot more pleased to see him. They won't be kind of like, we don't trust you. They're, yay, Captain Sinbad.
Yeah,
and
yes.
his men will fight twice as hard and all this kind of thing.
I see your point. Although, like I said, I responded to it justly. The bit that I was going to focus on is Sinbad's escape from the Pearl. Just because, again, this is Sinbad. This is not Jack. Do we think he would just fight his way across? Or do you really think he would sneak around like Jack does? No.
Of course
so I think Sinbad's methods would be different. That's why.
Absolutely.
Just it would be so people would know that he's crossed over. It wouldn't be a secret that he snuck off and things like that.
Exactly. And this would also be another one of those moments that's a really good one because there's so many set pieces in parts of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
We can dial those up to 11 because Sinbad is very flamboyant. He is a very good swordsman and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
So that fits in perfectly with the production values of a Pirates of the Caribbean film.
Yes.
Again, the swing across from the ship will be a lot more deliberate, a lot more kind of Errol Flynn-esque.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing, yeah. But, of course, things will still play out the same. The magazine gets blown, and Will is forced to make a deal for their lives.
Yes.
Ending the act.
I thought with this, when Jack kind of slips his bonds and tries to tell you don't listen to him, this is a moment where I can possibly see Sinbad stepping up and actually sort of backing Will up in terms of sort of admonishing Barbasso. So, yeah, obviously, I had it in my head earlier when I was thinking about it, and now it's gone. I don't want to say really being really preachy, but that kind of thing, just sort of extolling the virtues of being a good man. Will is a good man. He's prepared to sacrifice himself for others, which is something I think would appeal to Sinbad, and so an opportunity to. I think he would be more in support to him than Jack is. In that moment where Jack kind of says, "Don't listen to him, he's my mother's cousin," blah, 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 trying to brush aside Will's actions to Barbossa.
Yeah, but that's because he's trying to keep the secret of Will's identity to himself. Yes. Sinbad doesn't have that motivation.
Exactly, but it wouldn't be that preachy. I just thought it'd be a nice moment for him to say that, yeah, this is a good man, and just being more in support of him. If we need him to do that. I can't just see Sinbad standing by and not doing anything.
I would say, if anything, he would be arguing against Will's proposal, because why would he let someone sacrifice themselves? Sinbad does not have a little black heart. He has a big one.
Ooh, that's better. Yeah, I like that.
So he'd be arguing, but again, different reason for Jack.
Mm-hmm.
It would be, no, you can't do this, you can't do this. We're standing by you.
You didn't die when the ship... you were trapped in the ship, you survived. Don't throw your life away now.
Exactly.
If you would have died in there, it would have been the will of Allah. Ha! Will Turner of Allah. Sorry. That's terrible. But yes, as you say, and that brings us up to the end of the act.
Indeed it does.
And as we said, so that nicely brings us on to Act 3.
Indeed it does. And I'm going to call a scene almost immediately.
Go ahead.
Marooned.
I had stranded.
Right. But that is going to play very differently. It's not Jack. It's Sinbad. Mm-hmm. He's going to be much more polite to Elizabeth. I suspect he probably would find the rum, because he would probably search the island to see what there is, and might eventually discover that, there's a bit of bouncy floor here.
Yeah, I did think my first thought was, because there is obviously a light comedy element to the film anyway, it could be that they stumble across it by accident and he falls through it, but then that's a bit too slapstick, really, I think, for somebody like Sinbad.
This is, I don't know, because this is Pirates of the Caribbean, so there's room for it.
Okay.
And it's funny. It'd be wonderful, because it's like, he'd be ranting about how there's nothing useful on this island, and it'd just go,
and there's there covered in rum.
Yeah, exactly.
Which again, I suppose the thing that we don't get with this is, as far as I can tell, I mean, I can't see that. One, there's no reason for Jack. He wouldn't drink.
He wouldn't drink, yes. So we're not going to get the really bad eggs scene.
We're not going to get that. There's no reason for Elizabeth to try and get him drunk for him to pass out so that she can set the fire.
Basically, this whole scene is going to be a lot shorter.
It is. I thought that possibly the signal fire should be his idea.
It's kind of where I was leaning also.
Sorry, did I jump in?
Practically, no. You're right along there. I think he would. That's why I think the scene would be shorter. It'd be like, we can build a fire. We can make a signal. We can do this. I
mean, again, not wanting to take away any of the agency of Elizabeth in the film, but it's just what he would probably do. He would look at it.
Maybe they'd both think of it at the same moment.
Which again throws back into what I was saying last week about there's a love square here. There are enough things. There are enough check marks about Sinbad for her to go, oh. So there's this guy as well.
Why is it a square? Where's the fourth point?
Well, Elizabeth. So you've got Elizabeth, Jack. So Elizabeth, Sinbad, Norrington. Will.
Oh, Norrington's the fourth point on the square. Right, there, yes.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, my biggest point is because that's going to play out completely differently. It's going to be a lot shorter.
Which means they would find them a lot sooner.
Yes.
What?
Well, maybe a day sooner, because it's only the next day, isn't it?
Yeah. In a matter of hours.
Yeah.
Because we have to take into account they have to be within sight for them to see it. So possibly they get there in the morning. I'm assuming Jack wakes up sometimes at lunchtime.
Yes, knowing that he's hungover and everything. Yeah, probably.
So they would have seen the fires overnight.
Yeah.
Which means they may arrive a few hours earlier.
Yeah. But we still get the same scene on the Defiant and...
Defiant? Dauntless.
I always write it down Defiant for some reason. I don't know why. I always get like... Yeah, I know. It's like a mental tick.
You think of the USS Defiant?
Possibly. I don't know.
Star Trek.
I just, in my head, I keep mixing up Defiant and Dauntless.
This is going to be an interesting scene as well, then, with when they're back on ship.
Yes.
With Norrington, with Governor Swan. Because again, we haven't really sort of touched into what happens between Elizabeth and Sinbad while they're on the island. Again, I'm sure he's going to be the perfect gentleman because it's Sinbad. Mm-hmm. But there is, again, a possible suggestion of a connection between them. So when she suddenly turns around and goes, as a wedding gift, let's go after Will. How do you think that's going to make Sinbad feel?
Oh, yeah, he'd be a bit like, oh.
He'd
be put out, wouldn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He'd almost be thinking of her like, Jack, like, oh, you switch sides really quickly.
Oh, that's interesting, yeah. But then at the same time, he would remember his duty to save his friend.
Yes, indeed, yes, he'd want to do that, absolutely.
It would make a much more difficult conversation as well, because his first introduction to Norrington is, I'm Sinbad the pirate killer, or pirate hunter. Well, you broke out of prison, you stole a ship of the line.
Yeah, this time you're a pirate, yeah. So Norrington's attitude's going to be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be the same. I don't believe you.
Mm-hmm.
So Elizabeth will be forced to bargain on their behalf and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's when we get back to the Island of Muerte that I find my next scene.
I must admit, generally with this one, with the third act of this, a lot of this is going to be winging it because, as I said, when I made my initial notes, it was before we'd done the first episode and hadn't had time to establish what our parameters are.
Of course, yes.
So I was like, I'm going to have to kind of play this by ear.
Because my notes are just about what the original film was, so I'm trying to work out where it's going to be different too.
Okay.
So for me, it's after they arrive back at the Island of Muerte, Jack goes in alone to make his Gambit bit.
Yes, because this is going to be different now because Sinbad has no Gambit to make.
But I'm thinking that he's had enough time to think about the curse and things like that. So I think to some degree he may have thought of the same solution that Jack did, of stealing one of the other coins.
Interesting, because I went the other way. I didn't think he would.
If you can't beat him, join him, as it were.
I get the logic.
It would give him a chance in a fight with Barbossa.
I understand that. I think it's more predicated on my interpretation of Sinbad is he is kind of whiter than white, and the prospect of doing something that is inherently evil.
Whiter than white is the guy who's already stolen a ship.
Fair enough.
How white does he have to be?
Shades of grey. It's a bit late to bring that in now as an argument. It's just I thought that would be a line too far for him to cross.
Okay, well, we start to have serious problems at this point.
Mm.
See, this is the thing. I'm thinking that Sinbad is coming from a perspective of practicality. I can't defeat this person. How do I get an advantage over it?
It comes back to who these two different men are. I mean, Jack is pretty much amoral, and for him it's not a problem.
Of course.
But don't forget, Sinbad has faith. He believed in Allah. He would not think that. Would he think that accepting a curse, which he knows has real world consequences because he's seen it for himself?
But he's got every intention of returning it once he's defeated Barbossa. I'm seeing it as a necessary evil, I suppose, is what I'm saying.
I understand, and it's a really good argument, but I don't know if he would. I really don't, because he is a believer. He's
He's a believer. He has faith. I understand. Yeah. All right. So I suppose the question I have to ask then is, what do you think he would do? Because we have this scene where they have their
huge question mark. I don't know. This is one of the things I wanted to discuss because I didn't know how else we'd get around it. I can't see him doing that. I think he would rather trust again to the will of Allah that he will see him through. It's one of the things that sees him through most of his other adventures. Why would this? I mean, again, yes, these are very sort of strange odds.
Yeah, but it doesn't answer the question.
It doesn't answer the question of how we get around it, and I haven't got an answer yet. But
well, we need an answer. We need an answer now. We are at that point. We have reached the scene. We need to know what happens next. So I'm wondering if we may have just broken our movie.
It's entirely possible.
It's not that Sinbad's unskilled, but without a supernatural advantage, how is he going to survive a fight with Barbossa? Sooner or later, Barbossa will get a hit in. Doesn't matter how many times Sinbad stabbed him.
Mm.
This is a sticking point. If we can't resolve this, then we may have broken the movie.
Before we even get to that point, are you then suggesting that he goes in and makes, because he's not going to make the same bargain that Jack makes to
No, of course he's not.
Barbossa, which is when he takes the coin, so he may not even have the opportunity to do it anyway. So all of this may be moot.
Well, of course, my original argument was based on the predication that he would be looking to get one of the coins to give himself an advantage.
So
if he's not looking to do that, then again, all right, so the Dauntless attacks. Again, I think we've broken our movie. They are not going to win that fight.
They will win that fight if Will can get a piece of the coin, get one of the coins, and end the curse. So there is a way around this. It's not about Sinbad needing to take a coin to survive a fight with Barbossa. It's simply about him needing to give enough time for Will to take a coin, or to get the medallion and return it.
Okay, all right. I can see a possible route here. So, again, though, how are we going to do this? Does the Dauntless attack to cause a mass distraction?
So this then comes into how much, or if Norrington believes Sinbad and Elizabeth telling them that the crew can't die.
Which he's not going to.
Which he's not going to.
He's a stubborn-ass man. We've seen this many times in this story. He's not going to believe them.
No. So you think that he's going
to... And he hasn't got his crew because fucking Barbossa's got his crew.
Mm-hmm.
So he hasn't even got his crew to take in with him.
No.
At this point, we're literally talking about Will and Sinbad. But... just because Norrington doesn't believe that they're supernatural doesn't mean he won't want to fight. In fact, the fact that he believes that they're not supernatural means he'll want to fight. So I think he'd send in the men anyway.
I think Sinbad could argue a case to send him in first. You may not believe me, but you could charge in there unknowing what you're going to find.
Yes.
Or you can let me go in and do what I can. And so the plan that Jack suggests to Norrington can still happen with a slight modification. Look, I can get them to come out.
Yeah,
trust me, I can do this. You don't believe that they're not supernatural.
That's what I mean, though. There's a problem with that because Sinbad doesn't have Jack's Gambit. He has got no way to distract them. He needs a distraction. Will is not going to be able to sneak all the way up to the top of that huge pile of gold, up to that chest without anyone seeing him. Sinbad desperately needs a distraction. Jack's original Gambit was sending half of the crew out to go after the Dauntless and fighting Barbossa himself to distract him. What Gambit does Sinbad have?
It's a question of timing, isn't it? Because the only other thing is that...
maybe he would suggest that they follow up a moment or two behind, give them a moment to get inside and hidden, and then attack, so that once the crew is distracted, they can then come from their hiding place to get inside. So give us a 2-minute head start, kind of deal.
So give me one launch.
Yeah, give me a boat.
Give me a boat with
and
a
2-minute head start
with a few Marines to come with him.
Right, okay, why a few Marines? I thought he was going ahead to hide.
Because you're saying coming slowly behind them, I thought if you could try and
No, I did not say come in slowly behind them. I said give us a 2-minute head start, so we have time to hide, then you come in and attack, distract the crew, and we can sneak in.
Yeah.
You distract the crew, they run past us, we sneak in. And stubborn as he is, Norrington might buy that. It's a reasonably sound tactic.
I'm willing to go with that.
Yeah.
That sounds fair.
Because then we've got them up ahead and inside and separate from the Dauntless crew, and so we kind of got a similar situation. I mean, the odds of Barbossa going out there very low, like he did with the last one. He kept a small contingent around him.
Yeah.
So he's likely to do that. It's not even fight, but it's a much more fairly matched fight.
What I would then throw into this as well is because
So we would have to play the fight with Barbossa as a pure fight of skill, because Sinbad cannot take a hit.
we would also then retask, because the pirates don't end up doing their walk and attacking the Dauntless from underneath.
No, because the Dauntless crew come in.
Yeah.
So it's more like in the entrance to the cave rather than out on the boats.
But Elizabeth would still escape because she knows that the only other people who know what they're facing are Sinbad and the pirate crew.
Yes,
who
of
are
course.
still on the Black Pearl.
Yep.
So that would still play out.
Mm-hmm.
And when she goes, right, Will's in that cave, we need to help Miss. And Mr. Gibbs and his people go, well, we've got Pearl. Sinbad's crew will go, yep, let's go. They want to save their captain. If she tells them that Sinbad's in the cave as well, which she probably
Well,
would.
if you think about it, because the crew, we've now got a mixed crew, we can't get the best of both. Sinbad's crew will follow Elizabeth, but Mr. Gibbs and the rest of the Tortuga people will get the Black Pearl.
Yeah, let's go. That works. And that also, again, as long as they can get into the cave. Because we're getting it.
I honestly thought we broke it for a minute.
Yeah, same here. I mean, we can stage it so that the fight with the crew, because it's happening in such close quarters, they're forced to retreat because they can't kill them.
Mm.
So that would then bring them out, and they would follow them, which would then allow an ingress for Elizabeth and
the rest of
the sailors to come in,
Yeah.
which would then provide enough of a distraction that Sinbad...
Oh, that would completely even the odds.
Yes, thank you, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, it would completely... Because Sinbad's crew is what? 8, 10 strong? It's not massive. There's only 4 or 5 of them in the cave with Barbossa.
And facing people who know that they're undead, so we'll tailor their attack accordingly.
All right, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I'm with that. So, yes, again, so the scene plays out, but it's much more, and it comes back to what my brother David said, what Jack does with luck, Sinbad does with skill.
Mm-hmm.
So we would have a really impressive sword fight.
Yes.
Oh, really? Because, as I say, Sinbad can't take the hit. He's mortal. So he has to be good enough to hold Barbossa off for the entire fight. It would be whilst Barbossa's distraction that Will is able to creep up to the chest and making a sacrifice to the Horde and complete the quest. Of course, we don't have a final shot, so it would be a final thrust, of course. And he would look down and laugh. What do you think you're going to do? And he would just slide off the blade.
And then the miraculously appearing apple, which wasn't obviously in his hand, suddenly is.
Yes.
Just to prove the point. I did think at this moment, Sinbad's, I don't think he's going to be that interested in the treasure. He's done what he wanted.
No, he's not. He's not a treasure guy.
I just thought just as a slight nod, maybe when he goes to retrieve his sword from after he's stabbing Barbossa, and amongst the treasure he finds the eye of the tiger.
Oh yeah, that'd be a nice touch. Yes, that would be a nice touch. I think they would, because you've got to remember that the concept of salvage is maritime law.
Mm.
And abandoned treasure is salvage. So they would take some. They just wouldn't take any of the dodgy looking stuff.
Which now brings us to the very end.
Yes.
And this is the problem, because are they still going to hang him? Is it going to be him? Is it going to be Will? Because
I think he will try to hang him for piracy. Because it doesn't matter how much he helped, he stole the interceptor.
Yeah.
He's a pirate.
So you think that's going to play out the same?
I think it will, yes. It was actually my final scene, was the escape, because it's going to be, it'll be different because he's not a pirate, but he'll be being convicted of piracy.
He's going to have his crew with him then? The crew that were in the cave as well? Will they get... Because the crew that would have come in with Elizabeth, I suppose they would be tried as well.
Oh, fuck, yes. Yes, you're right, they would.
There's no guarantee that they're all going to be hung at the same time.
No, but there'd be a few of them.
Yeah.
There'd be a few of them.
Ooh. So we may lose a couple here because Will's only got one certain sword to throw.
It depends on how unkind we're being, because at this point, it's all narrative.
Mm.
It's how rough do we want to be to them. I'm inclined to be kind to them because it's the end of the movie, Instead of that back-to-back moment with Will and Jack, you'd have a circle.
A circle surrounded by a bigger circle. Yes,
yeah.
Love it.
And I just like the image of that. And then everybody backing towards the cliff, so slowly the circle moving, moving organically through the crowd, kind of a thing. And I think ultimately that Will and Elizabeth will probably make the same decision.
Of course.
You know, maybe not the decision for piracy, but a life from the high seas, a life of adventure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they both realise that this is not their world. They don't belong here. I think they'd leave with Sinbad.
You think they'd leave? Yeah. On the Black Pearl?
Of course.
Mr. Gibbs will come back
because
and all
we
of that.
destroyed Sinbad's ship, didn't we?
Yes.
So the Black Pearl's going to be his now.
And again, yes, so I imagine, it's that, aside from it's kind of guidelines, but it's also, I think, Mr. Gibbs, by this point, has been slightly infected by Sinbad. It's like, well, yeah, let's go back for it.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. So they all dive off the thing, or they all swing off the, off the battlements.
I like it. It's a world where they're not quite pirates, they're not quite pirate killers. But show me that horizon. I love that last line. Sinbad would easily say that.
Also, we can also drop in, I said the line from the other film as well, about every journey has a different flavour.
Ooh.
Or it was either that, or just thinking now, once they're all on the ship, and he's at the helm, Elizabeth maybe is teaching her song to some of the crew, and he's like, what are you singing there? About drink up me hearty yo-ho. So we don't actually hear it, but we hear her singing it to some of the crew, and Sinbad overhears it. What's that?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Drink up me hearty yo-ho.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that brings us to the end.
It does.
That was a close one. There
were a couple of times I thought we were going to break that. You actually made me think we were going to break it, because I thought there was a point where it might get a bit dodgy, but you brought it up much earlier, and I was like, oh, right, no, we have to fix this now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Who wins?
This is a difficult one. I'm gonna need a second here to think about it.
It's very tough, but I think I have an answer. I think Sinbad wins. I feel that the Golden Voyage, as much fun as it is, subdues Jack to some degree. Whereas Pirates of the Caribbean with Sinbad,
with basically
it opens him up. It enriches him as a character. I feel like there was growth. He learned about a different world and how to do things differently. There was definite character growth in that version of the story. Whereas Jack is just Jack in the Golden Voyage.
I see that. I understand that. Just on spec, my initial thoughts were, I think the Golden Voyage would take it. Again, because of Jack, but as you quite rightly said there's very little in terms of character development for Jack in that story.
Yeah.
There is the opportunity for him possibly to become a better man, but because of who he is and the life that he's led, that's something that may come if they were to do 3 or 4 sequels to that film.
That would be a series.
Yes.
Kind of objective.
Yeah. Whereas we've seen more immediate evolution in Sinbad in Sinbad of the Caribbean. With that in mind, then I'd agree. Okay. I'd agree. I'd say, Sinbad of the Caribbean is a maybe movie.
You realise it's been a few months since we've actually had both movies survive the experience.
I know. I know. Maybe that will mean everything will return to normal and we won't feel seasick again.
Yeah, that's
delirium.
Something I can live to pray for, or pray to live. I don't know. I just wanted to stop.
Either way, I think we can both agree that we will drink to that.
Indeed.
Okay, so we have a winner. Sinbad of the Caribbean is our maybe movie for March.
Indeed.
If you think we made the wrong decision, if you have any other opinions or thoughts on what we've done here, then please do let us know in the comments. We'd love to know what you think. One thing I did forget to say at the start, I meant to do it then, but I'll have to do it now.
Of course. This
is just to let you know, as you know, we tend to do these as we will do an initial pitch meeting, and then the next 3 weeks will be us looking at the films. With April being a 5-week month, that means we will be taking a week off, which is going to be the first week in April. So there won't be any maybe movies next week, but we'll be back as normal the week after. Something else may appear, because, I don't know if anybody else is kind of like wandering around the delirium whilst we're on sabbatical.
I wouldn't know what you're talking about.
Neither would I. So yes, so something may appear. We will see how we go. But in the meantime, thank you again for stopping by and indulging our wants and madness. And as always, please do look after each other and look after yourselves. Check out the videos that I mentioned at the start. Again, links in the description. And we will see you very soon.
And whatever else you do, take care of yourselves and TTFN.
Ba 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 ba.